All right, ladies and gentlemen. Back for now. All right, I'm gonna let the notification do its thing because you already know how this works. It normally takes a minute, and I'm gonna crack my window because it's a little stuffy in here now. That maybe has to do with the fact that I have my sweater on. But hello, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I have 3 different screens right now. It seems like we froze a little bit. Let me know if you guys can see me. Hold on. What is going on here? Today have some things to talk to you guys about. Namely, you guys saw the title. We're going to talk about the iPhone SE. And then we're going to have some predictions for AI since Apple is I'm disappointed in Apple. Their AI whole capabilities for their iPhones and in general all of their products was supposed to be out and ready to go, I believe in October, but a lot of this stuff is still basically in beta. It's not even finished. And so this has just been such a lackluster year for iPhone upgrades, despite, you guys know that I work for AT&T, and apart from, their fiber internet, their main bread and butter is going to be iPhones. People come all the time to upgrade their iPhone. So even though I've sold a good bit, I would like to see the numbers year over year on iPhone sales. I think that'd be a good topic to have for next live stream, to just kind of look at the trends of iPhone sales, if you will, over the years. Because I guarantee you iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max sales are probably lower than last year, and that's because, they really didn't do anything to it, right? They might as well called this upgrade the iPhone 15 Pro S or whatever, right? They should have just added the S moniker, because that's kind of what happened with the 16 Pro. So basically what I'm saying, if you have a 15 Pro, don't be like me. I do it just because I'm a YouTube reviewer, and I've just kind of been doing it every year since the iPhone 4. It'd be interesting to see how much money I've spent on iPhones, and then doing the calculations on how much, if I had invested that money instead, how much I'd have today. This might be a ChatGPT kind of question. Or the challenge would be to do the math myself. I might do that later. But no, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I do see here that we have a few people that are a little early. We have Gareth Mallory saying, "What's up, bro? Nice to see you." Nice to see you as well, my brother. Hopefully you've been having a great start to the year. I know that 2025 just started, but guys, already 12 days have passed in 2025. That's kind of crazy. We also have Stormy Day saying hi with all the eyes. I know that Stormy Day likes to do that. Hello, Stormy Day. Thank you for making it onto the live stream. Stormy Day also says, by the way, what's the title? The iPhone SE3 is already out. I think you meant by the iPhone SE4. Dang it, did I? Okay, after this, I will change the title. You're right. Oh, yeah, it is the 3rd generation. See, I forgot, because the 2nd and 3rd generation, basically, same. The S for those right there stands for same shit. That's what that stands for. So, yeah, the 2nd gen and the 3rd gen were pretty much the same thing. But seriously, okay, so I was reading some reports and some rumors talking about the new iPhone SE 4th generation. Now, this is the thing about the iPhone 4th generation. Let me show you guys. So these are the alleged rumors of how it's supposed to look like. Now, do you guys remember when the iPhone 13 came out? When the iPhone 13 came out, they had the iPhone 13 mini and just the regular size, right? So this was a different era for Apple, and arguably a lot of people like the mini series. Specifically, a lot of women happen to like the 13 mini series, and that's basically because nowadays you have 2 size options. You have the regular 16 and 16 Pro, which I think a lot of you guys are pretty much used to, and then you have the Pro Max and the Plus models, which for all intents and purposes, they're the same size minus just the bezel difference, which is how on paper the Pro Max technically is the biggest display, has the biggest active area of any iPhone that has ever existed. But the iPhone SE is like a relic of the past. It basically embodies technology of yesteryear. And by that I mean, if you think about it, the iPhone SE still has the body of the iPhone 8, of the iPhone 7, of the iPhone 6. It is the last remaining iPhone that still has a home button. And that really is one of its selling points, especially me working for AT&T. You would not imagine how many of the older generation, so we have a lot of folks that are, just older, and they come in and they want a very, very basic phone. They want a good phone, they say, but it has to be basic. And I mean, flip phones are now, so flip phones are barely being sold anymore. So those are just a thing of the past. Plus the profit margins on those aren't even there anymore, right? So like it just doesn't make a lot of financial sense to go out and buy a flip phone. But hey, I mean, that's coming from me, a millennial born in the 90s. To a lot of these folks, I'm sure that these smartphones are like these like creations of witchcraft, right? Because I mean, smartphones literally can do so much. They can do so much for modern day that a lot of old folks, it's just kind of intimidating. They've never grown up with technology, and this is just one of those things that they fear, you know what I mean? So the iPhone SE is the last remaining one with the home button, and that's what I was saying. So if it gets replaced, the question is, are they going to continue to have the iPhone SE have the same design? I mean, technically it's already had the same design for 2 years. If you guys recall, actually I might have it nearby. Where did I have it? Oh yeah, look. I have a nice little jewel for you guys to see. This was my old iPhone. Which one is this? I think this was the 5. So do you guys remember this? This is so cool. I meant to bring it out for that the next time that I was on live. I could show you guys. So look, check it out. That is the iPhone 5, I believe. So whenever this phone came out, man, I remember this phone is gorgeous, even by today's standards. I mean, look at it. You have the aluminum right here, the iodined aluminum or whatever, and then you have the inset Apple logo right there that's brushed in. You also have iPhone here at the bottom. Now, this was a different era of iPhone manufacturing, of iPhone design. If you guys will see here at the bottom, you have a lot of that FCC regulation, which back then was mandated. Of course, nowadays, our iPhones come very clean and they're very aesthetically pleasing. Of course, this was way before the era of a camera bump. So we have our, I don't even know what kind of megapixel camera this would be, but that was the technology of like, what, 15 years ago? You have your SIM tray right over here. These buttons right here, so you actually have the plus minus right there. You have the ringer switch, which nowadays is outdated technically, because now we have the action button that you can customize. But ladies and gentlemen, let me show you guys the size comparison, because this stuff right here is absolutely diabolical how far we've come in terms of just technology. So guys, check it out. Let me take off the wallet real quick. Now, mind you, when this phone was out, there wasn't any pluses. There was no difference in sizes. You just got one. So, of course, on the left, you have the 16 Pro Max, and on the right, you'll have the iPhone 5 or 5S. I don't think this is the 5S. I think this is the 5. But what's even crazier is when you consider the screen real estate. I mean, obviously, this one isn't on. I haven't charged it. It's probably really, really dead. But, I mean, check that out. Like, the difference right there in the screen size is absolutely insane. I can't believe we used to come from these phones, and now in hindsight, I mean, again, some would say that I have big hands. If I were to rate them from 1 to 10, I'd say 7.5. But even then, I mean, like, look at this. This is tiny. Are you telling me that there was a time where what? You're telling me this was the normal 15 years ago? There's no way. Whereas, hold on. Nowadays, this is a lot heavier. This actually feels like more of a phone. I think it's just like a placebo effect, because, I mean, my mouth is closer down here to the headphone piece down here at the very bottom. So this is odd. I mean, crazy time what we've come from, right? So anyway, that's my iPhone 5. I just wanted to show it to you guys, and I wanted to make sure that I had it out here. Stormy Day, the best-selling iPhone is still the iPhone 6. So crazy story about the iPhone 6. I remember where I was working at GameStop at the time, and so I wanted it so bad, the iPhone 6, and this is, mind you, I was still very young. I was like 17, I think. Yeah, 17 or 18. And so, like, I didn't really know much about, like, the iPhone game, right? This would have been the second iPhone ever. No, I'm sorry. The fourth, technically, because where I jumped into the iPhones was during the iPhone 4S. So that was my first ever iPhone that I got with my own money. I didn't have any other iPhones before that. I always wanted them, right? But then I finally got my first job ever at Burger King at the ripe old age of 16. And then I was finally able to afford. This was a different time, though. This is when these companies subsidized the phone via like wireless contracts. So this was when you had to, be with the company for 2 years or whatever. And then they gave you the phone, which was a whole different era. But yeah, when the iPhone 6 came out, I was working there at GameStop, or maybe I was like 19, 20, I forget, somewhere around there. Still a really young lad, right? And my manager at the time, Brian Grantham, hopefully he's doing okay. He was able to secure the iPhone 6, and I was very jealous. I very much was. Because this was the first time ever. Think about it. You're going from phones that are around this size to phones that now have a body this size, well, a little smaller than this, right? But the thing is that the iPhone 6 Plus still had those ugly bezels, so this was way before the era of full screen smartphones. I mean, back then, it still had the home button, although it was a touch capacitive home button. And if you guys remember the iPhone 6S, the iPhone 6S Plus, or actually, no, it was the iPhone 6. That's the one that had Bengate, and I think it was it wasn't your average consumer. Unbox Therapy, that YouTube channel, Unbox Therapy. I wonder how that guy is doing nowadays. It's been years since I've watched him. He was one of the first few tech YouTubers that I actually started to watch, and more or less, didn't influence this channel. More or less, that was Detroit Borg and MKBHD, which I need to talk about MKBHD because what he's been up to lately has been pretty insane. But getting back on topic, the 6 was the first one that encountered Bengate. If you guys remember that, or maybe some of my audience right now watching is a lot younger and doesn't remember, let me elaborate. Let me explain what Bengate was back then, right? So circa like 20... Damn, this was after college for me, so this was like circa 2016, okay? So around that time, 2016, 2015, the iPhone 6 Plus first debuted onto the scene, and this was the first phablet-style phone from Apple. Apple users had not seen a phone this big ever. Mind you, we had come from a 3.5-inch on the diagonal display from the iPhone 2G. If anyone out there is an OG and remembers the iPhone 2G, shout out to you. That one up until the iPhone 5 remained at the same screen size, which was 3.5 inches. For perspective, those 3.5 inches is smaller than this iPod Touch. This iPod Touch gains the 4-inch display. So this is the same display size as the iPhone 5 and 5S, and subsequently the iPhone 5C as well, for anyone who remembers those. But just look at it. This was our technology of just 15 years ago, or 10 really. This was 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years ago, but you guys get the idea. Look at that. So yeah, this size right here, this is a 4-inch display, okay? And that only lasted 2 years. So that screen enlargement going from the iPhone 4S to the iPhone 5 was one of its key selling points. And back then, I know there were a ton of jokes, right, about the 0.5-inch screen increase, right? You can already imagine where those jokes, I think for anyone who's an adult, you should know. But then finally, the 6 and the 6 Plus were debuted, and the iPhone 6, I think, got, again, a little bigger. The iPhone 6, it did in fact get a little bigger. But then they introduced the iPhone 6 Plus, which at the time was just, nobody had seen that. And by we, I mean Apple sheeps, right? No one had ever seen that, and that's probably one of the reasons that contributed to the iPhone 6 being one of Apple's best-selling, actually confirmed the best-selling smartphone. And I remember it was so hard to get, like, I tried going to Best Buy. I tried looking at Apple to no avail. And then I think I ended up having to succumb to Sprint. Oh, does anyone remember Sprint here in the United States? They merged over with T-Mobile, but Sprint was trash. I hated Sprint. I despised them, man. Anyway. Where was I? Stormy Day says, that's what I like about the current iPhone SE. I like how it looks like a phone from 2014 to 2017. Makes it look retro, not going to lie. Yes, again, just looking at the design. See, this was a different era for Apple when their design language was highly touted and highly respected. You know what I mean? There have been times where I've just been at my desk here, like working on YouTube or working on whatever it is, and I'll just look at the design, and it's chef's kiss, man. It's beautiful. Now, I know that I'm a tech nerd and everything, but This phone is absolutely gorgeous. And Stormy Day, you're right. It looks retro. The shiny little physical home button here at the bottom is just so nostalgic. Of course, look at that speaker grill down here at the bottom, right? Like, so 2015 era, crazy, crazy time. Of course, here we have the lightning connector, which at the time was still pretty new. Okay, this was crazy, right? During the iPhone 5, yeah, that's the one that introduced the lightning connector, right? So that was also revolutionary. And as you guys can probably see right there, we have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which, as we know, was going to be gone just 3 to 4 years later, right? And then obviously on the side, or I think I've already done a tour of this, but just look at the power button right here. It's this tiny, tiny little button. It used to be right here on the top left. The idea was that a lot of people held their phone in their left hand. Regardless of if you held it in your left or right hand, you just had really quick and easy access up here. Now, of course, as the iPhone started to get bigger and enlarge, not everyone has big hands to be able to comfortably press the sleep wake button here at the very top. So as you guys know, of course, it was moved over here to the side, mostly due just to ergonomics. And I'm glad that they made that decision. But yeah, I mean, just look at it. It's just a piece of history. There's going to be a day, I mean, there already is, if you try to find or if you try to look on eBay for an original iPhone 2G, it's going to cost you several tens of thousands of dollars. That is if it is not a fake. There's so many fake iPhone 2Gs that claim to be sealed and brand new, but really they're just repackaged, right? So just be careful. I think it was there was one big YouTuber. It wasn't MKBHD. It was someone else. I forget his name. But he bought one and he got scammed, and he made a video out of it, which is smart because he kind of got his money back probably off of the AdSense from that video that he made. But yeah, so if you're out there looking for original iPhones, good luck and just be careful. Stormy Day says, oh, that's an iPhone 5S because it has a Touch ID button and the iPhone 5 doesn't have that. Wow, very solid point. Yes, that is an iPhone 5S. I remember during the iPhone 5S, Stormy Day, that's when the new gold came out. And so that gold color was the very first time iPhones ever came in a gold color. So really, in a roundabout way, this iPhone right here, the 5S, for many reasons is goated. I mean, just the design is obviously very beautiful. The Touch ID for the time was brand new. Like Stormy Day correctly pointed out, still had lightning, of course, which at the time was brand new, the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. But it was the first time that like a different color option was actually offered. Before then, the iPhone 2G only came in one color. It had that black composite back, or was it plastic? I forget. I think it was plastic. Nowadays, could you ever imagine iPhones or Apple selling plastic phones? I know that they did that with the iPhone 5C, which was another controversial iPhone that was released. You either hated it or you loved it. Does anyone remember the iPhone 5C? And actually, speaking of tech history, the iPhone 5C came out hand in hand during the same era of the iPhone 5S. Now, here's another bit more of tech and telecom history. So, the original carrier here in the United States that was able to sell the iPhones exclusively was AT&T for like 5 years, right? So that means the 2G, the 3GS, actually it was during the 4S, and I remember vividly because that is how I was able to get it through Sprint. That's correct, right? So I want to say up until the iPhone 4, AT&T had exclusive rights to sell the iPhone. No other carrier could sell it. Weird to think about now, right? Because, I mean, if you guys here in the States have Verizon or T-Mobile or Metro or whoever it is that you guys have, I mean, obviously you can finance your phone through them now, but it wasn't always like that. So it was just a whole different time. But I remember during that time, I want to say that this phone right here was $199. Yes, I'm talking $199, and that's it, right? The only caveat to that was that you had to stick with that company for 2 years, and there were hefty fees and cancellation fees and all this and that if you left early, of course, right? And the iPhone 5C, I wish I had one, but I honestly never got one. I never bought an iPhone 5C because I bought the 5S. I wish I had an iPhone 5C, but that was so controversial. It came out at the same time as this one for $99 with a 2-year contract, right? So it was like $100 less. And to a lot of people that they were like, wait, what? If for $100 less? No. Again, just different time. This is when the telecom companies would subsidize them for you. Man, just good times to think about. That's so crazy how long we've come. I mean, absolutely. I'm glad that we're where we are right now with the 16 Pro Max. Of course, is the biggest phone ever released, but I mean, it's just comical sometimes to look at how far we've come. I mean, again, just putting this into my ear feels more like a phone. Now, in hindsight, this one feels like a little toy almost. You know what I mean? I feel like I'd even give this to my little nephew and be like, here you go. Like, here's your little baby phone. But these were the phones of modern time back when they were first released. So just insane. Stormy day because it has, and I miss small phones. Dude, same here. Oh yeah, I was finishing my tangent with the iPhone SE4. So check this out. The iPhone SE is more than likely the new generation that's rumored to come out in March. More than likely is going to be an iPhone 13 mini. It's going to have that shell, but it's going to have modern components. Now, clearly, they're not going to put the same chipset that's found on like the 16 Pro Max. Typically, what Apple does on their SE model is they'll put a chipset from like 2 years ago. Then that way it doesn't even come close to cannibalize any of the sales of their flagship. And besides, the iPhone SE is touted, it's marketed as being, that smartphone that for budget-friendly consumers. Now, the one demographic that I know will surely be PO'd and blame me as if I was at the executive Apple meeting to make this call, right? I know that there's going to be people that are going to be upset if it does, in fact, get the iPhone 13 mini design language, because that will mark the official end of an era. That will mark the end of the physical home button. But even then, on the iPhone SE 3rd generation, that button, it's not even a real life button. If you notice, if your phone is completely turned off and if you try to press the home button, it's not a button, it's a touch capacitive button. So there's like vibrators, I guess, inside. I mean, that's what they are, but they kind of vibrate whenever you hit that press, right? So it simulates the feeling of a press. And that reminds me, I was going to mention something about the iPhone 6s, which was weird because it's a feature that, okay, what you have to understand is back then, iPhone, when they released an S series model, that was literally the same fucking phone that they were selling the year beforehand. I'm allowed 3 cuss words per live stream and I counted them. So, okay, still have 2. But they were literally the same phones. What Apple would only do is they would give it a spec upgrade, right? So they'd, of course, do the little mandatory chip upgrade. Maybe it has additional RAM, all this and that, right? Makes it more fluid, makes it faster. But to go along with that, they couldn't get away with just offering that. So they had to do something a little extra. So every year, they kind of added these software features that were locked and exclusive to that S series iPhone. For example, if you look at the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 4S had Siri, and that's what the S stood for, and the iPhone 4 didn't, right? And you kind of think, and you're just like, well, these phones are only separated by like 1 year. Why doesn't the iPhone 4 have it? It surely has the capabilities for it, right? Probably, but that's typical Apple. Then from the iPhone 5 to the 5S, the S there stood for speed, allegedly. Yes, it was a lot faster than the iPhone 5, but again, one of the new software features that was added to that was Touch ID. And Touch ID for the time was brand new. It was the first time ever on an iPhone, so that was that feature for that iteration. Then came the iPhone 6, which was the last iPhone to include an S model, right? And on the iPhone 6S, does anyone remember? I'm actually going to take a little sip of my ice cold Coca-Cola with no ice, and I'm gonna ask you guys a trivia question. I actually might make a poll, or not a poll, but like a community trivia about this. What was that one feature that differentiated the iPhone 6 from the 6S? I'll give you guys a few minutes. Hopefully someone can respond. Stormy Day Tech for your needs. I feel like you'd get it. Jenna, I'm not sure you're here. I don't know if you remember what that is, or Apple Lover, I also see you. Oh, Aaron. So here, let me go ahead and I'm seeing some new people. Just Felix as well, saying hello, sir. Hello, Just Felix. So let me go ahead and catch up here. Hello, Apple Lover. Greetings. How are you? Jenna Rose, you had an iPhone 5C. That's awesome. Tell us about your experience with it. And then Tech for Your Needs. Hello. Hopefully you've been doing good, Tech for Your Needs. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anyone. Stormy Day says, I miss small phones. Hello, sir, by Just Felix. I have a working iPhone 4, 5C, and SE first generation, Just Felix. That's crazy that you have that iPhone that's working. Stormy Day, you got it absolutely right. So Stormy Day already beat everyone to the punch. Yes, the feature of back then was 3D Touch. It's a feature that now doesn't exist, and Apple quietly, very quietly removed it off. I forget which iPhone it was. But of course, they're not going to go out there and say, hey, you guys remember this feature that like we put so much time and research into and when we released it back in the day? Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. That's insane. That's when the iPhone 6S had that peek and pop feature, which I really liked. I mean, nowadays, it's still the same, but a little different, right? So nowadays, if you want to, like, I don't know, peek at a text message or whatever, all you have to do is just hold on that message for like 2 seconds and then it pops, right? So now it's tweaked a little bit, but it's not necessarily 3D touch, because back then, the harder your press, the more you got to see. So like instead of, I don't know how to describe this just without using any kind of animations or whatever. But now, if you want to peek at an image, say, for example, that's the name of the feature, by the way, peeking and popping. If you want to peek at a message, you just have to simply hold it. And as you're holding it, it just kind of, boom, it pops up for you, right? So after you hold it for 2 seconds, pop, it pops up for you. Whereas back then, depending on how hard you pressed it, you could literally see that message be just like a tiny little bubble like that. If you press a little harder, then it starts to expand. It was genuinely intuitive. I thought it was one of the coolest things ever because you could do so much with it. At the time, so many games. Now, this was before Apple Arcade, but at the time, that enabled a bunch of games to add basically a whole different dimension to their playing, right? So, like, instead of just tapping on this two-dimensional field, now you could actually press, and it kind of gave games like a depth to them, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's just a feature that I don't know why they took it away. I don't know if it's because of the display technology. I'm not sure if it's because Apple figured that their users didn't even really care about it, and maybe it could have saved them money to their bottom line. Probably is the reason they did that, but we'll never know. We'll never know. Jenna is saying howdy. Also, Stormy Day says the screen size on the iPhone SE 3, 4.7 inches, is the perfect screen size for me. I do think 4.7 inches is pretty standard in terms of smartphones. Maybe not for the Max or Plus models. Like, if you like phablets, you should probably stay away from that size. But I think it's a pretty respectable size considering for an iPhone. I agree. Stormy Day, and funny enough, the last iPod Touch came out 6 years ago, and it looks like it came out in 2012. Is it this one I want to say? No. Wait, I think this is the last one. So I can't remember which generation, Stormy Day. You might have to help me a little bit here with my trivia. But there were 2 generations, more or less, of this design of the iPod Touch, because the iPod Touch had an interesting timeline. So it started with those models that had the stainless steel on the back, which as soon as you got it, it was like a mission to get like any kind of case for it and try to preserve it. All of it was all in vain because inevitably that stainless steel was just going to get scratched the heck up, right? It had a redesign during the 2nd and 3rd generation. That was when I was a kid. I was literally in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. And that design of that iPod is so iconic. Like, do you guys remember its packaging as well? It came in like this plastic shell. And then it had the pull tab, and you'd have to pull it around the perimeter of that plastic shell, and then it would kind of just open up, and then you'd get it out of its tray. Then you had your documentation, your Apple stickers, which now they don't include. And this was during the era where Apple would throw in more stuff than they do now. So they gave you the corded headphones in the box. They gave you the lightning, or not the lightning. The lightning cable. Well, actually, no. Back then it was the 30 pin, but they also gave you the tiny wall plug as well. All of that came in the box, right? Even earlier iterations like the iPhone 2G and I want to say the iPhone 3G, they also came with like charging docks and everything like that. So Apple used to give you a lot more. But the iPod Touch second and third generation, just such an iconic design. Then came the fourth generation iPod Touch, which was more angular, and I had to buy that one my own from my Burger King money because the first Apple product that I ever got was an iPod Touch second generation that got stolen from me in gym class. Yeah, it was like this whole scheme. It was, I'm so embarrassed to tell it, but yeah, long story short, it got stolen from me. So, guys, my eyes are starting to hit a little heavy. I'm a little tired, so I may have to go ahead and finish up here with the chat. I need to catch up. Hold on. Stormy Day says, and that's why I'm glad I got my iPad first generation 64 gigabytes for $20. Dude, you keep getting those deals, Stormy Day. Aaron saying made it. I think I mentioned that. Nice to see you here, Aaron. Stormy Day. Also, the first Apple Watch is turning 10 this year. Yes, hence the name Series X. It was midway during the iPhone 4 when Verizon was able to get iPhones. So, okay, midway. Yes, that makes sense. Because, again, when I got my iPhone 4S, that's when I was able to get it with Sprint. So, yes, the timeline does coincide. Apple Lover says, greetings. I really liked my iPhone 6 Plus and have no issues with it. Who knows where mine is. I think at that time I must have traded it in for something, probably. Jenna saying she had the iPhone 5C. Tech for Your Needs says, hello, folks. When I put a modern phone to my ear, it feels like I'm holding a brick, is what Stormy Day says. I agree. I got used to the iPhone SE3. Hey, yeah, man, if you're going to rock smaller phones and then you go to a big old phablet phone, it's going to be it's going to take some adjusting. Stormy Day, no, unfortunately, the iPhone SE4 is going to be more like an iPhone 14 with one camera and the A18 processor from the iPhone 16. I do wonder what will come to fruition with the iPhone SE4. Old folks will definitely be happy if it stays the same. That's all I'm going to say. Tech for Your Needs, the iPhone 13 mini didn't sell well, so what makes you think the SE will? Very good question. I think it still will sell well because it's not in direct competition with other phones. The SE more or less is placed in its own category where it's a budget-conscious phone. So this is kind of like that phone that you get for the kids who are maybe 10 and you don't necessarily want to get them a flagship phone. It might be for, the older folks who want something smaller. They don't like the big and expensive phones. And so, again, I think it'll sell better because it isn't in direct competition with other flagships. That's why I think that it could sell well. But, again, I'm just one person with one opinion. So who knows, right? Stormy Day said, and rose gold. Oh, I remember. Yeah, they introduced rose gold, the pink first ever pink phone. The iPhone XS was the last one with 3D Touch, so there is still a device running iOS 18 with 3D Touch. Fascinating. Stormy Day, I love how you have all this Apple trivia, kind of like me. There's these random facts that I just here and there remember. Stormy Day, and the Apple Watch Series 5 was the last 3D Touch and also was the last Apple Watch to have ceramic. Bring it back. I said this in my last band review, which, by the way, guys, if you guys haven't, definitely check that video out. That giveaway is still live, and again, it's going to end definitively this time on February 5th. It's happening, and I'm going to have a live stream for that. Yeah, that should be it, but the 6th generation looks the exact same. Even the colors are the same. Ironically, yup. Aaron says, I'm such a juvie. All these conversations talking about inches being bigger, smaller, perfect tickles my inner 13-year-old self. That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, so that's funny. That's hilarious. Jenna says, I was young. I had the 5C in like middle school or something. Yeah, I had the blue one, good color, for like 2 whole years, and holy crap, the glass screens on the 5C were so breakable. I got mine fixed a couple times. Oh, man. This is just bringing a lot of nostalgia from that era. That iPhone 5C and 5S era was unmatched. This was just a cool time for Apple. This was shortly after, I believe, Steve Jobs. Well, this was when Tim Cook, was at the helm of Apple for the first time. I forget what year it was that that Steve Jobs passed away. Let me actually Google it because that should be a fact that I feel like if ever I were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I feel like that's a question I should know. When did Steve Jobs die? October 5th, 2011. So RIP to Steve Jobs, paved the way for a lot of innovation that Apple is known for today. And so he died He died early. I mean, if we still had Steve Jobs for more years there, Apple would have definitely made way more innovation. They say that him as a boss was just a complete animal. So, I mean, after all, Apple is what it is today because of him, arguably. Yeah, that should be it. Okay. Oh, there we are. So then, Tech for Your Needs, saludo para Hilda tu madre. I'll tell her tomorrow. If anything, I'll have her watch the replay. Tech for Your Needs, thank you so much. Stormy Day, my first Apple product was the last iPod Shuffle in purple. The iPod Shuffle, the square one, right? That one was iconic too. I still remember the packaging on that. It had similar packaging to the iPod Touch. It came in that tiny plastic little container with the pull tab. Oh, iconic. Jenna says, oh, wait, hold on. I don't want to skip anyone here. Oh, I didn't even take a drink. Stormy Day says, my first Apple product was the last iPod Shuffle in purple. Garrett says, I got iPod Touch 1 in 2008 in Walmart. I wanted to get iPhone, but not have enough money. Felt. And isn't that crazy that this was when the iPod Touch and the iPhone existed hand in hand? And so it was inevitable. I mean, if you really think about it, the iPhone did everything the iPod Touch did, only better because it was a phone, right? So at that time, the only people who got the iPod Touch were people like myself. I mean, I was young and didn't have money. Or it was meant for like people who maybe they didn't want to spend all that money or have the commitment of a 2-year contract, so they would have a different device as their cell phone, right? Again, different time. This is when like Motorola and BlackBerry were more or less still relevant. And then people got the iPod Touch for the novelty factor of, the multi-touch display. You can, surf the internet on it. The App Store, which back then the App Store was another selling point for iPhones. So yeah, just, oh my God. This has just been a trip down memory lane, literally. Jenna says, and still spent like 90% of my time with that phone with my screen broken. That's funny. Thank you for sharing though, Jenna. Stormy Day, Apple should make an iPhone Classic, pretty much the iPhone SE3, maybe a little bit thicker to make a bigger battery, but with the A18, that would be beast. I do think that they should make some kind of anniversary iPhone, but I mean, they did so with the iPhone 10 because that revolutionized the iPhone space. I mean, forever after the iPhone 10, it just completely changed the landscape of modern smartphones. So that would be cool, wouldn't it? Stormy Day, Apple Watch Series 0 38mm versus Apple Watch Ultra 2 battery drain test. The 38mm, that's just not even going to last half a day. Apple Lover, really like to search hidden bands in your videos. When to wait for next one? Thank you, Apple Lover. Good question. Yeah. So I went to the Mall of Georgia earlier, and then also a Best Buy trying to look for the next band. They did not have it. That's okay because Apple.com does have it. I was just seeing if I could go ahead and get it today, and then that way I could work on it. But the next review that I'm going to work on is going to be on the, where are they? On the titanium Milanese loops. So these are the new titanium Milanese loops. This is the one for the natural titanium. And then I'm going to have a separate video for each comparing the materials of both, meaning the old stainless steel and the new titanium. So those are just going to be the different comparison videos coming out. But to answer your question, Apple Lover, that video I'm probably going to set for a release for Wednesday for a premiere. So yeah, because tomorrow's Monday, that seems plausible. So be on the lookout on Wednesday for that premiere in case you guys don't see me live streaming. Tech for Your Needs, the SE4 will sell in the form factor of the iPhone XR, not the iPhone 13 mini. As said, iPhone 13 mini didn't sell. Oh, I mean, the iPhone XR, I remember it was kind of a thick boy. The iPhone XR was kind of thick. We'll see. We'll see, right? Because, I mean, sometimes what we think isn't what Apple is thinking. This idea of having a 13 mini iPhone SE kind of makes sense in the sense that it's just going to be a small phone, and the iPhone SE is already a pretty small phone. But also, as Tech for Your Needs has mentioned, it does also seem plausible if they put it into an iPhone XR body. We shall see. Gareth, I have 3 factory sealed square iPod Shuffles. Maybe we'll sell them on eBay in many, many years. No way. iPod Shuffles, Gareth, I might want to buy one from you, to be honest, for like a retro review. That'd be really cool. I might have to get with you. Stormy Day, my cheapest Apple product was my iPod Touch, fourth at $7, and most expensive was 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, as I can probably imagine. Check for your needs says my first iPhone was the 7. Nice, man. So the iPhone 7. Which one was the first iPhone to incorporate product red? Do you guys remember? I think it was the 7 or 8, because the iPhone 5 only came in like that weird kind of bluish. What did they call it? Like slate or something like that. And then white. Then it also came in the new gold, which was a champagne color. Then you had the iPhone 6 come in gold, silver, and space gray. I think it was the 6 Plus that finally came in red. I'm pretty certain of it. I think it was the 6S or the 6 that eventually came in product red. I'll have to fact check myself after this. Stormy Day says, I mean, technically the iPhone SE 3 is the 15th anniversary iPhone because it came out when the first iPhone turned 15. True. I mean, 38mm Apple Watch Series 2 is still holding on strong with battery life, can almost last me 2 days. Are you serious? That's impressive. Garrett says, oh, and also have working iPod Nano that I used to wear like watches. Oh, I remember that. I remember Detroit Borg made a video on that, on how you could convert your iPod Nano back when it was like the square into an Apple Watch. That's crazy. Stormy Day, I forgot to say the price of the MacBook Pro. I got it for $500. Stormy Day, whenever I buy some used tech, I'm coming to you because I feel like you're going to help me get a deal. It was a 7 and it was only available for like 6 months. Same with the 8. Yeah, because that was like the March color that they released, right? Whew. Okay, been speaking for quite a while now, for 41 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a tired individual. So I'm going to end it here. This has been phenomenal as usual. Thank you to everyone who joined the chat and made this chat what it is. You guys always rock it and roll it. Again, on Wednesday, it's 50-50 whether I'm going to premiere the video or go live. If I finish it early, I might as well just upload it on Tuesday. But just in case I need a little bit more time on it, then that may take the place of the live stream on Wednesday, and it'll be a premiere. I know some of you guys don't like them because you'd prefer the face-to-face kind of interaction, but I will still be there. I will still be on the live chat. I know that it's not the same thing as being on here. But you know, my premieres are few and far between. I don't do them all too often, but here and there, they're just kind of sprinkled in, just kind of to jazz things up. But depending on where you are in the world, hope everyone has a great evening, a great afternoon, or morning. Do not forget to drink your water. And as we turn the leaf on a new year, hopefully it's been starting out great for everyone. More than anything, please stay safe. Here in the United States in the South, we did just get some snow. It's been terribly cold. There was a lot of ice on the road. So just in general, guys, just please stay safe. What else was I going to say? I think I was going to mention. Oh, yeah. I was going to mention one other thing, and that was also for the giveaway. So if you haven't already, go ahead and join that giveaway. It's on my newest video. And that giveaway is going to end on February 2nd right here on the live streams. But all right, ladies and gents, that's it. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Oof, I'm ready for bed. I'm tired. All right, let's go.